As Billie Eilish swept the Grammys last night, the internet was ablaze with takes. I was both happy to see the support of all the people who were emboldened by the idea of someone making a record in their bedroom could be this big now, but I was also disappointed to see the trolls were out. Now I should start this off and say that the Grammys are fucking trash, but I'm going to take this opportunity that they've presented to have a larger discussion about why Billie Eilish is important and why we need to stop so many of the negative thought patterns that happen whenever her name is brought up, because so many people want to demean her that missed the boat on this completely. Since this is a channel where I discuss thoughts to help musicians, I want to examine the ways musicians and their teams should be excited about Billie's win and her huge success as an opportunity for what you could do in years to come. Hi, I'm Jesse Cannon and this is Musformation. So let's first talk about why Billie won so many Grammys last night. The Grammys are often much less a reward of what is best or sells the most, but instead a story the industry likes and has taken on and wants to reward. The fact is, the major labels buy ads in a special issue of Billboard that gets sent to the voters only. The public never sees it, it's never on stands, it's just for the elite that vote on this. The labels lobby all year around and they tell their employees who they should vote for. Teams of artists who are nominated do everything they can to rally the troops of who's voting and get the people to vote for their artists. That's how the Grammys actually work. And that's also why you always see artists on big management teams and big labels being the ones who win. Now, there is something to this that there is exceptions to that. That is when they see a story or a narrative in an artist that the music business at large feels should be rewarded. Since time and time again, you could point to lots of the anomaly wins in this as people that have interesting narratives that the business wants to see brought out. And when I think of Billie's win last night, I think about it as a music business that has tons of young people in it who want to be a part of something exciting and are excited that's been rewarded. Billie undeniably has the most unique look, sound, and the most creative person in pop in years. Now, little asterisk on that. I may take an argument that Rosalita is right up there with her, but Rosalita hasn't really punctured the mainstream the way Billie has, so that's why you're going to see so much more focus put on her, among other things that we could discuss some other time. So let's talk about Billie's story and why it's compelling. First off, I think the most interesting thing that happened last night is Phineas won the Grammy for Best Engineered Album. He's the youngest person to ever win this award. And that says a lot since 90% of it was made in a bedroom, and every other time this award's been given out in its history has been to really polished records like Steely Dan and audiophile nerd shit like James Taylor that is always rewarded because these nerds want to sit around and pat each other on the back about technological achievements in engineering. But instead, it was finally rewarded to a record that sounds so much different than what the mainstream is hearing right now. But this shows we have a music business with tons of fresh new faces because the democratization of the music business is bringing in so many different people into it, and people like the idea of this type of person winning for this record. And so many people have gravitated to this record. You know, there's a great point that was made on the New York Times podcast that whenever you talk to anyone in the music business right now, Billie is the singular reference. All everybody talks about is what she's doing because it's so much further ahead. And this is what the Grammys traditionally reward. For a lot of the business who are smart enough to know, she represents that if we just work hard enough and make the right moves and are part of an amazing, exciting, creative thing, we too could be a part of this. But let's talk about that since some people are in denial that she made the right moves and they think this was all just her parents' connections. But let's also be honest, her parents are barely in the music business and this idea is totally preposterous. But let's talk about what really made her. She employed one of the smartest strategies that I keep talking about that works in these other videos I've made. Instead of one runaway single like what most pop artists' careers are built on, she had 8 different songs with more than 100 million plays on Spotify. Spotify and YouTube reward artists who are releasing songs the way they like to see it. Billie has multiple videos of the same song on her channel consistently, whether they're vertical videos, lyric videos, single stream videos, or her amazing music videos, or a performance on Ellen that is visually breathtaking. Spotify rewards these numerous singles she's put out over the years, as well as all the remixes and collaborations, since that's what their algorithm prefers to see. And this makes sense that she has such strong strategy. In fact, the label she's on is the only imprint I can think of where everybody talks about how the head of the label is a marketing person. And funny enough, there's a detail about her manager, Danny Ruckeson. He took over managing the band I used to manage, Man Overboard, years ago, and I know he's been grinding in punk and DIY management for years, and that's a place where you get a lot of skills. But maybe we even start with the most charitable argument for her, which some people say, which is, this is all just that she makes great music. Which I do agree, she makes great music. But now might be a good time to discuss Cantons Law. I derived Cantons Law from Godwin's Law, which is an internet adage asserting that as an online discussion grows longer, the probability of a comparison involving Nazis or Hitler approaches 1. Now, for Cantons Law, the difference is that if there's a discussion of any artist, someone's going to chime in with the tired old saying, all you have to do is write good music, and then everything will work out. That is the main ingredient, and there is no better marketing tool than great music, but it takes tons of strategy to break through all the people who are making great music today. While I don't think most people are making music as good as Billie these days, or as relatable and emotionally resonant, I do believe strongly that there's tons of artists who are making emotionally compelling music that's on par. But what really makes one artist stand out from the other that are doing damn good music as opposed to truly amazing music is the strategy. It's inarguable that Billie did not have the most amazing visuals of any artist and also employed some of the smartest strategy of marketing I've pretty much seen in major labels in years. But let's talk more about that smart strategy. They didn't push just to radio. Instead, they concentrate on singles and streaming because that's the greatest exploit in music now, just as I talked about in my video about marketing on Spotify. I can remember back to Christmas of 2018, and I was around a bunch of my adult friends like you are when you're at holiday parties, and so many of them outside the music business had no idea who she was. But what I would show them is this is the crazy thing about fame now, is people think an artist is overnight when really Billie's been grinding at this for 7 years and has been releasing singles for the past 5 years. There was an interesting comparison I showed that every one of these people would know who Lady Gaga was, but Billie had a few more monthly listeners on Spotify than she did, yet none of them knew who she was. She now has double what Lady Gaga has in monthly listeners on Spotify, incidentally. But this all changed when she started the rollout to her major label debut, and she smartly capitalized on a singles release strategy, incredible visuals that kept people talking, and most of all, highly emotional songs. But let's talk about those songs now that we know it's not just them. 6 years straight of dedication, which is something you can learn from her, is in every documentary about her. They talk about how Phineas and her spent long days. When you watch all of these different videos that the New York Times and all these other things, they talk about how they're spending the entire day. When they just do the take of duh in Bad Guy, they're trying it 40 different ways to get it perfect. They were so dedicated and loved making music so much. Phineas talked about when they wrote Bury a Friend that it was his birthday, but he decided there'd be no better way to spend his birthday than in a studio. In many of my videos, I've talked about what we all are looking for is a bit of familiarity, but new ways of making emotions. When they talk about how they made Bury a Friend or Bad Guy, you hear them doing all sorts of new things that aren't common. They have weird tracks called Nightmare and things like that. They're sampling dentist drills.
I was in the dentist chair.
But most of all, another thing that they really innovated is song structures. I talked to an A&R friend recently who talked about that they would never accept songs for years that didn't have traditional song structures. Yet now, weird song structures are totally welcome in pop, and we're seeing the charts totally change. Ever since Billie's record came out and these songs were such a hit, I mean, I have never heard an outro like Bad Guy in pop in my entire life. One of the biggest things that they really did, though, is strong imagery. Obviously, her videos are incredible, and that's hard to emulate. But even in their songs, she evokes strong imagery, and then they reinforce it. They talk about when they made these songs, that when they say broken glass, they find a way of doing a musical cue with that. They talk about these nightmare horse tracks that they've made. What most of her detractors miss, though, is this is not for them. Every reporting talks about how rabid her fan base is, and this is because her music has made an emotional connection. Just as we talked about it, that she didn't just have one breakout single, she had 8 in a row before her debut full length. That's because people really identify with her authenticity and honesty. Phineas talks about when she sang Hotline Bling one time, how much he believed it, even though it wasn't her words.
You used to call me on my cell phone, late night when you need my ear.
She's tapped into the emotion of what she sings and really thinks about how to evoke that emotion of what she's talking about in her vocal and how she delivers it. But we also have to remember that most of these detractors aren't her audience. It's hard for people to understand the emotions of teenage girls. Let's think about half of the internet content today is people just not understanding the Zoomer or millennial generation.
Any female born after 1993 can't cook. All they know is McDonald's, charge their phone, twerk, be bisexual, eat hot chip, and lie.
While I'm twice her age and find her music highly, highly emotional, so many people can't get this. We have to remember no one consumes more music than teenage girls. The least charitable take I've heard on Billie, though, is she's a plant. But the dude, Anthony Fantano, has already handily explained why this is the stupidest take possible, so just click on this annotation if you really believe that. But let's go a little deeper on if that is your take. Yes, she had parents in LA that were in entertainment, and her mom was on an episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm for 10 seconds like half of LA's actors. That doesn't mean you have connections. I can think of so many artists who have had this. You know, I point to my favorite band, the 1975, all the time. He has two of the most famous parents in England, and yet no one would sign them. I'm lucky enough to go to the offices of Atlantic Electra on a regular basis. If there's one thing I see when I'm walking in, is people constantly taking selfies there, and then you find out it was some famous person's kid or some influencer. But you know what you'll notice? There's only one photo ever taken there because they don't actually sign them. If you don't believe me, go to the Instagram address of any of the major labels and look at the location tag and just laugh at how many people take that singular picture there, yet never come back. Because the labels now have analytics that show when people are responding to their music. The fact is, labels don't have to waste time by putting out the songs of famous people and connected people's kids. Difference is about what her parents' connections did mean is that they knew a work ethic. They were creative people, so they talk about how they were having them take songwriting classes. And that's what you should learn from this all, is that they made the right moves, and you can do that too. They sat around figuring out how to make an image that is totally different than everybody, how to make videos that are everybody, and they devoted their attention to the right things. Whereas so many of you are devoting your attention to being lazy, sitting on a keyboard complaining about other people, or talking about how you don't have the opportunities that other people do. The lesson of Billie Eilish is, if you lean into your creativity and take it really seriously, it can work out with the right moves. I implore you to focus your energy onto something positive instead of this stupid negative bullshit, and accept that this is someone who's actually done something exceptional. Take the lesson of Billie's success. We're supposed to give awards and record sales to people who do something exceptional. It's undeniable that no one did better than Billie in making something creative and new. So let's be glad it was rewarded and learn some lessons from it. That's it. Am I missing anything? Is there any way you would have done this? I need to know your questions and what no one else is telling you, since I want to answer them, so leave them in the comments. I hope you liked this video, and if you did, please like and subscribe and get notified for my future videos, since I'm going to be breaking down the concepts in this video along with tons of others on promoting your music and how to make music you're more happy with. As well, I have a Facebook group that's linked below that is only helpful information. No one tried to sell you anything, playlist or con artists, only helpful information for musicians looking to be better themselves. If you want to learn more about me, make a record with me, or check out any of my books, podcasts, or anything else I do, head to jessecannon.com or at jessecannon on any of the socials. Thanks for watching. One last thing, if you liked this video, there's 2 playlists here with tons more videos that you'll probably enjoy. One's about how you promote your music, and the other's about how you make songs you're happy with. Otherwise, you can hit the subscribe button here to see the rest of my videos. Thanks so much for watching.